This is the plaintiff, Gladys Oquendo. She says the sneaky defendant, her former landlord, is as crooked as they come because he's refusing to return her security deposit, and that's not fair or legal. He says the place needs to be painted, but she lived there for 6 years, and a landlord always has to paint when a property turns over. She's ready for her day in court. Is suing for $2,950 and can't wait until she wins her case. This is the defendant, John Caruso. He says the plaintiff painted his white walls a cocoa brown. That's why he's entitled to paint the place to restore it to its original color. No prospective tenant's gonna want to live with an ugly brown paint on the walls, and he has every right to withhold her security. Besides, there were also about 100 holes in the walls, which needed repair, and he begs to differ on who's gonna win this case. He's accused of taking advantage of a tenant.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff says her landlord is super crooked. She lived there for 6 years now. Landlord's trying to charge her for repainting. Come on. But the defendant says the woman painted the walls cocoa brown. It's the case of cocoa puffery.
Thank you, Douglas. Gladys Oquendo, you are suing John Caruso for $2,950 that you say he owes you, $1,000 for a gate you installed that you claim he was supposed to reimburse you for, and $1,950 for the security deposit, none of which he returned to you, correct? What's going on?
I rented his house for 6 years. He's trying to tell me that the color was different and it's the same color that he gave it to me.
The cocoa brown?
Yes, that's the color it was when I rented the house. So in 6 years, he never painted. So when I moved out, I made sure I cleaned his house. I left my refrigerator there, I left my shed. The gate, I had to leave. It wasn't even a year when I bought it, because I thought I was going to spend more years in there.
Right.
So
He asked you to leave. You were on a month-to-month, and he asked you to leave, and according to you, part of what led you to do that was that you were trying to sell the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were trying to sell it to her, but you wanted to sell the house.
Yes.
So how did it come to a head that you decided she's got to go while I'm trying to sell it?
It was like they were dragging us along, Your Honor. We offered it to them a bunch of times, and they never came to the table. And it was summertime. That's the best time to sell a shore house. And they dragged us along, and we tried to bring this together. We couldn't. She asked us, she had some family problems. Please wait, please wait. We did. Here it is coming October, November. We said, look, we're going to sell the house. Either you come to us or not. And she said, we're not. I said, okay. I'm going to let the real estate in there. The real estate.
Who is the person next to you?
My wife, Nicole.
Who is the person there?
My daughter, Samantha.
Okay, go on. And that's your daughter?
We asked the real estate asked if they could do an open house the first week. The real estate asked if they could go in, she let them in. The real estate asked if they could do an open house, she denied them. So once she said that.
Is that accurate?
Yes, because
Are you surprised that then you got evicted? Because you're on a month-to-month, and if they want to sell it, it's their property, not yours.
Right, but
all you have a right to do is get 30 days notice before you're told to move out.
Right.
That's your only right. And then you wanted your security deposit back, and then you held it. Why did you hold the security deposit?
When we went there, Ms. Oquendo, to do the walkthrough, there was holes everywhere that she took spackle and spackled. There was probably 30 or 40
Do you have pictures?
holes.
Yes, right?
Yes, we do. And I said, well, yeah, you have to paint. I wasn't making her paint the color, Your Honor. I don't disagree the color at all.
Was brown when she moved in?
The color was brown. It was brown. She moved in. But she spackled now.
And
she
so
put
now
spackle
the place
everywhere,
Okay,
so
hold
now
on one
the place has to be painted.
All right, so this
Not
is what
only
you're
did
talking about.
Not only did they just spackle, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Not only did they just spackle, they didn't really do a good job. They just put a coat on the wall. There's no sanding. They just did
There's
that.
no skimming. There's no reapplying. There's
skimming.
still holes.
On top of that, Your Honor, Ms. Oquendo was a smoker. And if you look at the grates and you look at the pictures that were on the wall, you could actually see the smoke outline in the rooms that my painter had to actually use a solution to wipe down first and then paint the place. There, Your Honor, that picture there, you see all the smoke outline on the pictures? It's everywhere.
It's 6 years.
Are you a smoker?
Not now, but that was 6 years of not painting him.
I understand. I don't know where people get the impression that you have to paint every time a tenant switches, or you have to paint every X amount of time.
That right there, if you go back, Your Honor, that's spackle in the floor.
So you think that was left there by who? Who did the spackling work?
My friend, but we didn't do nothing on the floors, only the walls where the pictures were at. I don't even know where that came from. That wasn't like that.
Okay. Do you have the original lease?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it? Did you offer to return any of it, or you said no?
Yes.
Okay.
She said, no, I want all my money. I said, but there's damage here. You have to account for the damage. She said, no, I'll see you in court.
So if the tenant paints this apartment cocoa brown, can the landlord dock the security to repaint it to the original color?
Yes, because usually the security deposit covers enough to replace the apartment.
But can the landlord use that security to repaint?
Yes, the security deposit is supposed to restore it back to its original condition.
What do you say?
I have no comment.
No comment? What, like I'm Mirandizing you? What do you say?
Yeah, I agree they should use the security deposit to repaint.
Fair enough. Going inside the courtroom.
Have you painted it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
may I see the bill and the proof of payment on the painting? You know that in your lease, you sign condition of premises. The lessee stipulates, represents, and warrants that lessee has examined the premises and that they are, at the time of this lease, in good order, repair, and in a safe, clean, and tenantable condition. You know that, right?
Okay, yes,
And I was
ma'am.
looking for that because most leases have that in there. And so if you received it damaged, then why don't you note the damage you're talking about on those wood floors? You wouldn't have signed that. You would have said, except for blah, blah, blah.
We have the same lease, too.
Let's see that we do. What I said was number 5.
I signed the one that's number 16, I underlined.
Okay, we'll get there because I'm still
It
on
was wear
number
and tear.
7. Alterations and improvements. Shall make no alterations. What are we referring to there? The back gate?
Yes.
Tell me your version on the back gate.
There was an issue with the renters next door. Originally, the house had a gate down the left side, but the house next door had access. They had an access gate that comes onto my property. No problem for years, but Mr. Quendo had some dogs, and the people had been coming through my property and leaving the gate open, giving them a problem. So after a while, her not agreeing with the people next door, I agreed to put a gate down the side of the house. So when she called...
You paid for that.
I paid for that. So she called up to get the fence guy. I said, get a fence guy, I'll pay. He calls me and he tells me a price of $3,500. I said, that's very high. I'm in the business. That's high. He said, well, you got
What
this.
business are you in?
I own a construction company.
Oh. Where was the... Okay, so do you have painters?
Yes.
Why'd you pay so much if you're in the business?
Because, what do you mean pay so much? That was cheap compared to what he did, Your Honor.
Okay.
Especially with the wipe and the nicotine. I know what that entails.
Yeah.
I said, that's excessive, the $3,500. He said, well, the swing gates cost a lot of money. I said, what swing gates? I have a straight fence. That's it. He said, no, they want that. So I called him. I said, look, I never agreed to this. My fence in the back works. It's fine. There's nothing wrong. It was PVC. It was a little older, but it works fine. She went back and forth. She's like, please, it's not going to match. And at this time, they were intending to buy the house. So she says, look, I want it. I said, okay, if you want it, you pay for it. I'm not going to reimburse you. It's going to stay with the house. You ever leave, it's on you.
Is he lying?
That's entirely the way it would happen. Because
so you
I
tell
have
me what's
nothing
different.
to do. I was a renter. He was doing this with my friend. That he rented the backyard for $300
Yeah, but
a month.
who was supposed to pay for the back?
He was. That's his property.
You're telling me under oath that he told you he'd pay you back. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, now you can explain to me why in your demand letter, when you send him a letter and say, I want my security deposit. By the way, you have excellent penmanship.
Thank you.
It's a lost art. But when you, in your demand letter, you never mention the gate. Can you
Because-
tell me?
because
in fact, what you say is, I left my fridge and I left the $1,000 gate.
Okay.
That's what you say. So if you're supposed to get paid back, wouldn't you say, and where's my $1,000 that you were supposed to pay me back in that
Your
letter?
Honor, because honestly, I just wanted my security back because he didn't give me enough time to move out.
I think you're lying about whether
Okay.
whether he ever told you he'd pay you back for that gate. So let's talk about the security. Did you ever send her any, or because she said, I'll see you in court, there was no money transferred?
I sent her a text, and I said...
I got it. Yes or no? Did you send any money? That's all I'm asking.
No.
Okay.
No, Your Honor.
I'm now going to read to you your answer to her complaint, because again, we don't make things up here. When the plaintiff moved into the house, the walls were white. After she moved in, she painted it a cocoa brown. You remember saying that? Do you remember reading it this morning and then reading the statement and in fact filling in things that needed to be only left side, not back gate, blah, 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 all, and then signing it and adopting this as your statement?
Your Honor, what
Yes or no, do you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but she didn't paint it cocoa. You have since learned that the prior tenant did or something?
That's not correct. It was all white when she moved in. She painted it cocoa.
No, I did not.
Yeah, but your husband testified earlier.
I understand
I'm
that.
not saying she painted it cocoa.
If I may, Your Honor, if I may?
Yeah, if you may, could you get it right? Did you rent it to her cocoa? Did you rent it to her white?
No, it was white, Your Honor.
Then why did you say earlier, I'm not saying she painted it cocoa, it was
Because
that way?
I want to release her from that so we can get on to the
From
better
the cocoa?
argument. No, the better argument of the walls being damaged.
It is a better argument. Why don't you just be truthful instead of lying?
The catalog, I didn't mean
but
to,
why don't
Your
you
Honor.
just be truthful?
Just don't remember, Your Honor.
And
My
why don't
wife
you
has a
just
better
be
memory.
truthful?
My wife
Whoa,
has a
oh,
better
shocked and
memory.
appalled. I've just yelled at you for 5 minutes. You know what I'm referring to. All right. Now, so here we are, and the argument that we are left with is, hey, there's a lot of spackle, and there is. So the question is, do you just paint the cocoa over the spackle, or does it require an entire new paint job of white, where covering cocoa with white is a place I've been. And I know that's why that paint job is more expensive, because it requires many, many coats. Is this person your painter or a sub?
Sub.
Yeah. So no, you're not going to get the entire 1,800, because I believe that if you don't have proof it wasn't cocoa, then a lot of that painting had to do with covering cocoa, okay? So we're done, and here's where we are. I am looking at the security deposit. I am looking at the damage to the walls. I hear what you're saying about when it's smoke, there's an extra treatment. I understand that. And I am going to order you to return 0 on the fence, since I don't believe you ever said you were going to reimburse her for the fence. Otherwise, there would have been reduced rent the next month. But I am going to order you to return $950 to the plaintiff of the security deposit. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $950.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So after a lot of discussion, the plaintiff is going to get $950 back of the security, not the almost $3,000 she was seeking. You said you were going to send her some back. What were you going to send back to her? Actually, to you.
$650. That's what we offered her.
Okay.
In the beginning.
So she's going to get $950. You're going to give her
Not far
$300
off.
more than you expected to.
Correct.
Okay. You all right with this?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, very good. By the way, which was it? Was it cocoa or white?
It was white.
It was what?
We'll never know. I tell you, I don't think we'll ever know. Miss Oquendo, if you'll come back out here, please. Let me ask you, was it cocoa or was it white?
Cocoa, my daughter, everything.
It was cocoa. Oh, well, look, you're only going to get...
It's a nice color, too.
I know. You're going to get $950 back, not the $2,950 you were asking. You okay? It's over.
It is what
it's
it is.
done. It
It's
is
over.
what it is. You're right.
It's over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Harvey?
Okay, here's a simple rule. Do not do anything to an apartment unit in terms of altering it without the landlord's written permission.